You know, with all the dark, scary things happening in the world right now, you might be feeling heavy, maybe even hopeless.
But beneath the surface, there's something very powerful happening.
It's an awakening. I'm Jay Pryor, spiritual seeker, life coach, and teacher.
And I'm Megan Lee, a 7th generation seer and medium. We're bringing our gifts to this present moment,
Exploring our own awakening and talking with leaders, healers, and visionaries who are helping others wake up as well.
We're also diving into the neuroscience of the woo-woo, exploring how science is finally catching up with the spiritual and helping explain it.
We believe that what we focus on expands and that we are all deeply connected.
Welcome to your awakening. And I would love for you to answer this one first, because my answer is because Jay asked me to do a podcast, and I've always wanted to do one.
Okay. I'll answer.
Yeah.
So my first answer is because Spirit told me to. I'm a creator. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, and I'm a creative. And I denied that in myself. I didn't call myself a creative, even though I was a serial entrepreneur. But I now understand that if I'm not creating, it's like my thing is to create. And I've been really stuck, and not stuck. I've been moving through some dark times since the pandemic. In 2021, I hit a trauma trigger. And I've had stuff with my kids and my family, and there's just been, and I promise you, all my creative energy has been going into my own mental health and into my kids' mental health, and woo. And so this past year, as it would be in 2025, it came to not an end, because you never end growing, but I've come out of some dark, I've had an awakening myself. And it's not like anything's new for me, because my awakening has been ongoing. I've been studying metaphysics for 20 plus years, and me getting the note that I'm not separate from anything, that the God is everything, and that includes me, for me was that was a huge awakening that happened whenever I found New Thought, and that was in 2008. So it's been a long time. So it's not like anything's new. But I have had a resurgence in my interest in creativity and in being willing to say something and make a difference. Because I'm somebody who wrote a book and who has millions of podcasts out there, and I have 2 other podcasts. I have a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos, and I've always been willing to put myself out there as a trans person, as an activist, and as somebody who's a leader, spiritual leader, and a leader in personal development. And I've always been willing to do that. But I tell you, for the last couple of years, it's been, I haven't wanted to. And not just I haven't wanted to, but I haven't felt like it was, like I was supposed to. Mm-hmm. I felt like it's my time to be quiet. And I don't know what to do yet, so I'm not going to do it. So I have literally done nothing for a long time. And I had a couple of different things, because obviously I also need to make money. I need to eat. So I've had a couple of times when I've been like, okay, this is the direction I'm going to go in, and then it just hasn't been the thing, right? So I finally just quit and just been like, you know what, until God tells me what to do, I'm not doing nothing. I'm going to coach and keep my business and do what I do, but I'm not going to try anything new. I'm not going to like anything. And it's like the breadcrumbs are hard to put them all together, but there were all these little, as it does, is once you ask for what you want, or you ask your God, your universe, things will line up if you get out of the way. And so I started getting up to the point it was around the beginning of the year, where I started to think, okay, I think that I'm ready to start saying something, but I want to be very conscious about what I say, because there's so much railing against everything right now. And for me, I live in a world and study that what I know that if I'm resisting something, it's going to come at me stronger. and I know that what I focus on gets bigger. And those have always been my messages. Like in my first book, I talk about it. Anybody who's done my work, I hammer it, hammer it, hammer it. What you focus on gets bigger. What you focus on gets bigger. And yet I couldn't figure out a way to, like, I don't want to make people wrong, and I don't want to, like, tell people not to resist, because that's the movement right now, is resistance. But I don't want to resist. And so I started being like, okay, I'm ready to start saying something, but I want to be conscious about it. And I started to do these coaching groups once a month, where I've been doing those for like about a year, maybe 2 years now, where at least I was doing this one thing, because I thought if everything else is going to shit, once a month I can bring people together to remind them what you focus on gets bigger, and let's focus on being great and making a difference in ourselves. And so I've been doing those for a couple of years. But I started in January to start thinking about, okay, I think that I'm starting to get ready to do something different. And pretty soon I had the notion that it was probably, I kind of thought I wanted to do a podcast, and I don't know why, but I remember that hit. It was like, okay, podcast, that'd be cool. And part of the other journey that, so I have, all these different layers of stuff that are part of my awakening. And one of the parts of my awakening is that I've been talking to dead people pretty steady for, God, I don't even know how long anymore, Megan. When I read the book, The Priest and the Medium by Suzanne Giesemann, it gave me a completely different perspective of dead people. Like, I had always thought and had a hunch that when you die, you just leave your skin bag. You just kind of absorb, and then you could be everywhere because you're air. Basically, if that makes any sense, like energy. That was my philosophy. That's kind of what I thought. And then when I read The Priest and the Medium by Suzanne Giesemann, it changed me. Like, it was just like, that book was like, what? Not only are they right here, but they can orchestrate shit, right? And so that is when I started talking to my parents every day and talking to people every day. And I got sent on a journey, which I've talked about with my necklace, that appeared, this necklace that appeared in my box. And this is a Catholic medallion, by the way. I was raised Catholic. I'm 100% clear my dead parents gave me this. I don't give a crap what anybody tells me. I'm 100% clear, because this appeared in my jewelry box, and then I was sent on a journey to 4 Catholic funeral masses, and by the end of it, I had a priest literally look me in the eyes and tell me, I'm sorry that a priest told you couldn't be queer and Catholic when you were 18 years old. Like, I literally had the priest look me in the eye with a collar on and say, I'm sorry that happened to you. So talking to dead people, so I started having my clients like do stuff like, I want you to create a board of directors of dead people. And it works. And I don't care if it works because actual dead people are on your committee, or if it works because you think that dead people are on your committee and you are still putting out what you want and looking for signs for guidance, right? So either way, talking to dead people became a big thing for me. So when I started to realize that it was going to be a podcast, and that part of my, commitment is to get people to understand that we're not here by ourselves, that we're not even here really, but you know what I mean? Like, part of that, it was like, I would love to do a podcast with a medium, because they're clear about that, right? And it'd be fun, and we could talk about the other woo, and we could get people to start focusing on creating their lives powerfully out of this. So anyways, I was already there. I was starting to think about that. And then you showed up. And you showed up. I didn't even know you were there at the core event, because you were online, right?
No, I was in person.
Were you there? Did we meet? No, you were on the couch. That's right. I met you on the couch, and at the core event. And then you showed up. Like, I just briefly met you, but then you showed up at Coach's Cocktails and Conversation.
Yeah, and I didn't say I was a medium when I first met you.
I thought you were somebody else
Mm-hmm.
initially.
Yeah.
I thought you were another Megan that I was supposed to know. And so I went over to say hi to you, and we started talking. And within seconds, you told me that you had a synesthetic brain, you were a 7th generation seer, and that you were a medium. I mean, within seconds. I didn't even remember asking about that. Like, it just came out of your mouth, and I was like, cool. I mean, I love all that. It's really cool. And so then I do a meditation where I kind of ask a question and I've been doing that for months about like, what's next? What's next? And then I take the next hit, whatever that hit is, I follow it. And I followed the podcast, and I got the podcast, and I'd love to do that. And then you introduce yourself as a medium, and I'm like, and so then the following week or so, I was like, I don't even know. I kept feeling like Spirit was going, like shoving me towards, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't even know that lady. Like, we've never even had lunch. Like, you saw me present, and then you were at one of my events. I know you're a friend of Monique's, but other than that, like, I don't know anything about you. But I'm like, I always trust Spirit. If I got a hunch like that, I just follow it. And I'm one of those people that, like, I've had a million hunches that didn't work out because I'm always like, that's cool. Let me go that way. And this time it was like, I'm going to just be kind of crazy and ask you if you want to do this thing with me. And as soon as I asked, you said, yes, I want to do this thing with you. And so that's where it really all came down to, was me following my guides, my intuition, my knowing that it's time for me to talk again. It's time for me to open my mouth again. I did it a lot in the past, and I needed to shut up for a while. I needed to like, ooh, our country's gotten so fucking mean, like it's kind of, it's so, I just really got clear, like, okay, it's time for you to open your mouth again, and a podcast is the way to do it, and you need to do it with a medium. And then there you were, and you're like, I'm a medium. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, so that's kind of where it came from. And my biggest, when you open social media every single day and people you love are freaking out and railing against everything, and you have this knowing that the more they push against, the faster it's coming at you. It's like, what do you do? Right? I mean, I could just get out of the way and shut up. And that's what I kind of been doing because I didn't know what to do. But now I'm like, okay, I'm clear. I have to open my mouth and say, stop railing against that. And I don't want to rail against that. But, let's and shift our focus to what we want to create and what we want to be.
I love that. Very cool.
Yeah. I try a lot to that.
Yeah. When I met you, it was at a Douglas County Core Entrepreneurs thing. And in that environment, I had never told them I was a medium. In that environment, I always introduced myself as an apothecary with non-toxic home health and spiritual items. That's it. There is no other side to that. It's not something that I was promoting at the time because the messages that I was getting from my counsel, my spirit guides, everybody was that this whole year would be a big pivot for me, that I would be shifting everything the way I was doing it. And for the past 5 years, I've been a professional medium. And before that, I decided I worked in a corporate setting and I didn't want to do mediumship because I started doing mediumship when I was 17. I started doing professional readings when I was 17. So in my 20s, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I just went corporate, and it wasn't until, my youngest was born that I was like, okay, I need to get back into this field. But this whole year has been about transitions for me, and I was supposed to back up out of mediumship readings in the way that I was doing them. So I had been practicing not saying I was a medium. So when I first met you, I didn't say that because I had been practicing. But in your group, the thing that you were asking kind of questions for us to talk about something. And I don't even remember what the question was, but my answer was I had been that weekend. And the only reason I was there was because Monique was going through a bunch of stuff and was like, hey, I got to go to this thing. Will you come just hang out with me so I'm not there alone? And I was like, yeah, dude, sure, let's do this. So I was like, I walk in, of course, I know half of everybody there already because, Lawrence is a bubble. But especially in the metaphysical world, so whatever you had asked, it was something along the lines of like, how do you fill your cup back up? I don't remember what the question was, but the reason I had to answer about my mediumship is because I had just come from a 3-day fair and had to turn around and do another one that was back-to-back mediumship. And when I'm in the land of the dead, more than the land of the living, what my self-care changes a lot.
I would think so.
A lot. It's an entire, people always ask, "Oh, I wish I'd do what you do," and I sometimes I'm like, "No, you don't." No, you don't. The religious and the spiritual and the physical practices that I must have in order to be in the land of the dead as much as I was, it was intense. And to answer the question that you asked the mixer, I had to clarify why I felt like that. So as you're walking up, and I'm in a group with your wife, and she missed half of why I was saying that, of why I felt so hollow sometimes, but that I needed to be in grace for that hollow bone type thing. And she was like, I don't understand that. You shouldn't be in grace for being, overgiving or hollowness. And I was like, oh, no. And so when you walked up, I had to tell her, and you almost at the same time, which is why it came to you like that, was I'm a medium and a 7th generation seer, and I've got a synesthetic brain. I've got all these sensory inputs, plus I'm talking to the dead, and therefore I have to self-care a little bit different. But at the same time, my gratitude for even being in that state of being is so thick that it's what drives me to do it again and again. And so all of those little synchronicities were happening, and a few fairs before that, I always trade with other people because I love other people's gifts, whatever they are. We all see spirit differently and sense differently, and we all have a different translator, inside of us. So there was a woman across from me who was promoting herself as pull 3 cards, get 3 answers, and they're going to be something in a way I had never seen it presented before. And it was something along the lines of like Christ consciousness, which I always thought was cool because of my own journey with the Christed consciousness and energy. And she had said to me, name 3 things that you want to do. And I said, well, one of them's networking. One of them is talking to the dead. And the other one is doing a podcast someday to bring all of these people, information to the people in a way that it's not just information. Because I hate when people go get readings and then they just are given information and then they come to me because they're like, I just got this information. What the fuck am I supposed to do with it? Like, how do I make this something I'm learning? And I wanted to do a podcast because it's not enough. It's not enough for us to just tell people to focus on something different. It had to be, and these are the experts to tell you exactly how to do it and exercises that you can do it. Let's all grow together in a consciousness. And she had told me in those 3 cards that I needed to keep doing my mediumship because it was then that I was thinking I was going to shift gears away from doing mediumship. I got into the farmer's market. I just thought I wasn't going to anymore mediumship anything. And she was like, just keep doing mediumship. You're supposed to do it. And that is going to build your network. And with that network, it's going to be someone who a friend of a friend, and you're going to do a podcast. And I was like, at the time, I was like, all right, cool. That's a cool reading. That's what's up. I'll keep doing me. I didn't really read too much into it because it was just information. It was just a starting point. And at the time, what I needed to know was keep doing mediumship, Megan, And so that's why when Jake calls me and it's like, hey, do you want to do this podcast? And I'm like, about what? And we had thought that we'd known each other, but we hadn't known each other. And I thought that was pretty cool and synchronistic at the same time, because it felt like as I was talking to you, that you were familiar, but I didn't know where to place you at. You just had this familiar feeling to me. And when I went to hear your speech at CORE, the entrepreneur meetup, you were talking about neuroscience, which is my nerd fleck. It's the thing I anybody talking about neurosciences, and I'm like, hi.
Right.
Like, and we were saying some of the same ways. We were teaching in some of the same ways. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So when Monique was like, hey, do you want to go to this thing with me? It's Jay's. And I was like, yeah, sure. I thought that was cool anyway, So Spirit had put all the right breadcrumbs in front of me to keep taking the breadcrumbs. That I was like, okay, I'll do this. And on the back end, I knew I was supposed to be making all of these transitions, and I just did my very last metaphysical fair last weekend. So I only will be taking personal clients now. I will not be at metaphysical fairs the rest of the year, and maybe not next year, depending on what Spirit and the Dead tell me. But my life situation, with, like you said, kids, and your life is not your own, it kind of helps steer the direction that you're in. And so when these opportunities came up, and that's why. And I'm very, although I'm a nerd, I'm also very, what do the stars say? What do the cards say? Let me check in with my League of Dead.
Right.
And all of that was in alignment. Yes, all of that was in alignment. And for me, it's not just about resisting or not resisting, because my personality, I'll go against the grain if I have the opportunity. But the true thing for me is alignment. And what you wanted to talk about and bring to the world was what I had been talking about in my seminars all year long. And it was shifting your perspective out of the things that weren't working for you and out of the mainstream into alignment of your own stream.
Right.
And that's what you had pitched this to be. And so I was like, all right, Spirit.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that ultimately all of us who are leaders, both in personal development and spiritual leaders, are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And we have different words about it. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this, is because I see an awakening happening amongst so many people. And I see a real, it feels like a desire for connection with Spirit, or a desire to get in that alignment without, but there's this resistance also because, like, for example, I say this all the time, queer people have been so hurt by religion. Like, I mean, I'm a drop in I'm one of those people who is literally told the faith you grew up in, you can no longer participate in if you are a queer person, right? I am one in millions of people who had our hearts broken. And so that religion really, like that whole, right, really did a number on me as a young person around what do I believe and what do I connect? Now I'm super grateful for it, because I got to go explore on my own and come to my own understanding. That I'm just not taking what was handed to me, and I'm super grateful for that now. But I see a lot of searching, and I see a lot of and a lot of flailing, and so I want us to be a place where you don't have to believe anything in particular to be able to know that, for one thing, that you're loved. Like in my book, I wrote this book 10 years ago, and 10 years ago I said, a few things. One, everything's energy, and I don't give a damn if you believe it.
Mhm,
Just practice.
mhm,
Practice understanding that energetics, what you resist persists, what you focus on gets bigger, and that I want to live in a world of people who know that they're loved,
mhm,
because there is something that happens for me when I got to a place where I could love myself enough, because I had to go through a big giant long journey of self-discovery to and continue to deepen that even this past year. And I think if I say I had an awakening this past year but nothing was new, it was a new level of compassion that I found for myself
mhm,
after dealing with a bunch of shadow work and trauma.
mhm.
It's just huge level of compassion where I just have gotten to the point where I truly can say I love myself and all the messiness I am. And that's huge. Like I wasn't somebody who could have said that. I mean, I've said it all along, but this is a different layer because it's like all warts and all, like even all the stuff that I hated about myself, I don't, and I don't resist that anymore. And that power of being able to learn to love myself is partly because I know that I'm part of all there is,
Mhm.
and all there is love. I know that, and I want to live in a world with people who know that they're loved, because when you know you're loved, I think you behave better. Like, I don't know, there's something about knowing that you're loved that gives you a sense of hope, a sense of faith, a sense of knowing, a sense of something. And so, how do we have that conversation on a wider scale, not just in church, not just everywhere else? Like, I want to be able to have those conversations, and not, you don't have to believe anything to listen to us. Like, you can just, you can think all of it's bullshit, but you're still going to learn stuff. And I promise you, if you just take on some of the practices or anything that kind of calls to you, for your soul, for your inner being. Because what I'm interested in is soul.
Mhm.
Like I appreciate the neuroscience in the skin bag, but I always want to get back to following my knowing from my soul, my inner being, which is connected to everything. And that's why I want to do this.
Awesome. I'm excited because soul and consciousness and neuroscientists and belief and love and collectiveness and alignment, that's what we've been doing. That's what this is.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what the Age of Aquarius is all about, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, that's one of the things that's cool, and I think that you and I are gonna kind of like, I hope what we're doing is highlighting this is, again, there's so many people that are having the same conversations, but one might be a religious leader and one might be a astrologist,
Yes,
but they're still talking about the same thing
they are.
ultimately,
They are.
right?
And with all of
Yeah,
the big distractions, because America is not the only country in peril right now. There are many
not
other
even close.
countries who are in the same spot. And for me, if something's happening globally, the dead start being like, like the buzz is equal. And what I know is when there's energy in the air, you have the ability to use it. So if you can use that energy to awaken your own self, why aren't you doing it? If there are some big, huge distractions out there in the world, it's because there's something else going on. What is it? But what we are told on a, basic, less everyone outside of the 3% of who are knowing it all, we are taught how to when we feel that something's wrong with our spidey senses, we go to our own garden and start lifting up stones instead of the collective of what is out there that I need to start analyzing or feeling out of. Is this right for me? Is this my truth? Is this a truth even? And that on a collective level is what they don't want us to focus on, is those truths. So you and I bringing those truths of soul resonance to the forefront on a global level is what will change and shift consciousness as a whole. It's a law of nature. And the other thing is, yes,
Yeah,
we are in the age of awakening. We are in the age of
Yeah.
Aquarius. We were in the age of Pisces, which is collective thinking. And Aquarius is, if my feelings were not involved in this, would this still be my truth? And what that is.
Well, in my understanding too, from the, the astrologist that I that first, it was about a couple of years ago when I learned about. First of all, those of you who don't know, an age is 1,000 years.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that tells you how long.
Yeah.
And I talked to this astrologer a couple of years ago, and she was sharing with me about how in the 1960s it was the dawning of the age of Aquarius, because it takes that long to move in to the age of Aquarius. So from
Right.
the 1960s till 20, we weren't fully in the age of Aquarius until 2025. And so the way she described it was, the reason that we have all these staunch, you have to believe this and be rigidity and all that stuff is about Pisces. And in Aquarius, we're moving into community and love and poetry and understanding, all that stuff that's in the song. So I'm so excited because no matter what we do, this is happening.
Yes.
And what I'm excited about is that there is this wave, and that us doing this, I assert, makes a bigger difference because we're all connected. And I love that notion of all connected like a spider web, and that in a spider web, one drop of dew is felt throughout the entire web. I mean, that is profound. Can you imagine if one drop of my own alignment is felt from all of you? Number one, it's such a responsibility for one thing. Like, it makes me want to be someone who is being that light. Because if you feel that, if everybody feels that, if we are that connected, then it makes me want to be that light. It makes me want to give that out. But I really believe that. Like, I have a knowing for me that is the truth, that we are all that connected, like one giant spider web.
Yeah.
And so I think us doing this and catching this wave and having other people catch the wave of awakening is only going to wake up more people and, like you said, expand consciousness. I feel like we're at a tipping point right now in a lot of areas of consciousness. The queer movement, the trans movement, they can't come back from this gender. I mean, they just can't. Kids are not going to shove that back in. Like, that's not happening no matter how much they squirm. So I feel like we're at a tipping point with a lot of awakenings, and I feel like you and I are going to do our part to help weight that and tip it over. And
Yeah.
that. I mean, I don't want. I also just turned 59. I think that might have something to do with it. I just turned 59, and I'm so clear about how short my time is on this planet. I've been close to death my whole life. I've had people dying. Someday we'll have a whole conversation about that whole dead people thing, but I've been very close to death my whole life. And this past year, I've been super close to it. And one of the last deaths that I experienced was my nephew, who is 2.5 years younger than me. And I got to be with him when I died, which was profound. And it shifted me, I think, for life. But one of the things I came away with is, man, I don't have much time. I want to do what I want to do. I want to focus on what I want to focus on, because you can't get this life wrong. Like, I don't think you can get life wrong. And I have a choice about where I put my energy, and I want to put it right here.
Awesome. What I really think is a cool opportunity that we have for people is we've got Substack. So if you subscribe to that, you have the opportunity to, what do you want to hear about? What wave do you want us to call in? What professional what thread would you like us to tap for you to get that information, for you to get those practices, for you to get that soundboard, for you to get that community tap in? There's several ways, and we'll touch on things, and then waves, come back to it, if we need to. And we've had several guests already that were like, oh, we can't wait to talk to you again. because
Yeah.
we just can already see the build upon what they have. And even us talking to some of our guests, we have heard back from them and saying like, oh my gosh, by me just paying attention to what you guys were doing, this is how my life started going ding, 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 and creating their own waves of awakening. So you're right about the spiderweb threads and what they're able to keep doing and doing not only for our audiences but for us and for our guests. And on our Substack we have some of those behind the scenes, me and Jay calls of get the fuck out of here, you will never believe what just happened to me. Because we're on this journey with you, with us, with them, with everyone, and because we are connected and we have our own ahas and awakenings, and we want to talk about it all.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead. I mean, I could put my own videos up on my other channel, but I've put my show up on our Substack, which if you don't know that I'm a queer trans person, go check that out. I'm really proud of that show. It's called The Gender Reveal Party, and I've had so many cis het people watch that show and wake up around gender in a new way. Like they just don't see it because it's the water we swim in. And that show is a really powerful show. And I put the whole thing up there behind the Substack. And I'm going to I think both of us, right, are going to put our individual stuff up also because this is kind of what I do.
Yeah.
Like I do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so
we're both coaches,
also,
we're both coaches and we're both creatives. Right.
So that's definitely behind the wall. A lot of it. So
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Everything from, neurologically how to change your perspective to what are the tics and triggers to lead you that maybe your awakening is in the moment, to what do you do when you're in your awakening and you get hijacked from an outside source who doesn't want to wake up. There's so much information on Substack right now.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's a great platform.
Awesome. Well, we hope that you join us and join the wave and whatever that looks like in your own awakening.
Yeah. And I mean, if nothing else that you take away from this, please, 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 please keep remembering that what you focus on will always expand. And so please focus on your goodness, your light, who you are for the world versus anything else anybody else wants to tell you about.
Yes. Yes. You can turn off that TV and be okay. Awesome.
Thanks for catching the Wake Up Wave with us.
We hope today sparked something in you, a reminder, a question, or even a deeper breath.
If you're feeling the shift, share this episode, leave us a review, or just keep tuning in. Every wave you catch matters.
And remember, what we focus on actually expands. We are all very deeply connected.